We're here, Dynasty price check time. Talking about some two wide receivers, two interesting ones that I've had. Well, one of them I have had a little bit of a change of heart on. Real quick, before we get started, make sure to hit the like button on this video and subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching. Join our Discord. Link is in the description. It's free. We're doing listener leagues. We might have already done a live startup draft with that first listener league already, depending on when this comes out. And we'll put together some more. So get in there and join those listener leagues. But we are talking about two wide receivers here. First one is Jordan Addison.
Maybe that's his new nickname, Jordison.
Yeah, Jordison. Going into his third year, 23.1 years old, so still young, just turned 23 years old. Is the wide receiver 21 in Dynasty Keep Trade Cut rankings. That's what the community feels about him. And you see the finishes there, 11 points per game, finished 28th his rookie year, good solid rookie year. And then he improved on it this last year. He was wide receiver 21 in points per game. He was one of those guys, kind of the reason why I had a little bit of a change of heart on him was like, oh yeah, he I don't know where his total finish was, but it's like, it felt like his total finish and his points per game were going to be way off. So his total finish was wide receiver 20, and I was thinking, he's probably going to be like wide receiver 30 or something, in reality, kind of like Zay Flowers is known for that the first couple of years, but no, not for Addison. And he's been good. Even playing second fiddle to Justin Jefferson, even with multiple quarterbacks now and probably a third different quarterback in his first 3 years. So I'm kind of in on Addison. Like, I think he's properly ranked. Do I ever think he's going to be top 12 unless Jefferson gets injured? No, but I think he's just going to consistently be this kind of wide receiver 20-ish type of player. We know, that he's capable of boom games, which I kind of want from those type of players if they're my wide receiver 3. And there's always the injury upside if Jefferson goes down. So I guess the only concern is the quarterback, but I don't know. We were concerned about that with Darnold, and that didn't mean anything last year, really. So how you feeling about Addison? Are you a little bit lower on him, or you kind of feel pretty good at where he is?
I'm kind of okay with it. There's a few guys below him. I just always look like who's directly in there, like around them, and I get it, it has to do with age is a big factor and all that stuff, and keep trade cut is not necessarily like the best idea. Like, it gives you an idea of like, oh, I want, like, people want this guy versus this guy, but I noticed like Metcalf, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle all below him, and it's like, I get it, the age, and obviously Addison's in a good situation, like you said. Like, he appears in his first 2 seasons to be somewhat quarterback proof, which is good. And yeah, I just don't know what to really expect from him in the future, kind of a thing. Or, as far as like, this might just be like what he is until he goes somewhere else, because he's behind Justin Jefferson, which is fine. Like, he's still definitely like a startable player. He can give you those nice long touchdown weeks, which he makes the week good for you. Like, he makes his points in one big long catch, not to say that that's all he does, but so we always like to see that. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit lower on him in general, but I'm kind of okay with it too.
Yeah, and again, like, the guys that you mentioned, in particular, DJ Moore and DK Metcalf, like, if I had to bank on, Addison, Metcalf, Moore, who, rank those guys in order of who you think is going to be wide receiver 10 this year, Addison's last of those 3,
Yeah.
So assuming health, of course. So yeah, there's a case to be made for those guys, like Metcalf and Moore and Waddle. But also like to Addison's defense, like he was just better than them, both of them last year, and it's like, he's a young guy. He's going into his second year, and he was better than both of them last year. He might have been better than Metcalf in 2023 as well. I'm going to double check that. No, Metcalf was better, but so I don't know. Like again, I think the biggest thing is JJ McCarthy seemingly is going to be the quarterback for the Vikings, and that is an unknown. And I do think he's kind of capped. That's like the one downside of Addison. I do think he's kind of capped at like, he would have to have a really good touchdown year, an even better one. He's been pretty good at catching touchdowns, 19 his first 2 years. So usually you can't rely on touchdowns, but there's some guys that are just good at scoring touchdowns. So like he might need to get to like 12 or 14 in order to have like that top 15 season, which I probably don't see happening. But there's also like there's value in those type of players as well. It's just like, yeah, I'm fairly confident he's going to kind of finish right around where he's ranked, and he's kind of a boom bust player to a certain extent, which I like, assuming he's my like wide receiver 3. Give me the 8 for 162s and I'll live with, the 2 for 25s, if you're giving me those big weeks as my third wide receiver. So yeah, I kind of had a change of heart because I think I made a video back in January saying like, I think I'd kind of sell high on Addison, and everyone's always up to being sold, right? Like I'll sell anyone. Sounds kind of weird, but like I'll always be open to trading anyone. But I think like I don't think he's necessarily a sell high. I don't think he's really ranked high, I guess is my point that I'm getting to. So yeah, I don't know if there's much else unless you want to add something.
What do you think about him versus Jameson Williams and him versus Chris Olave? I think those are two kind of interesting guys to like think about, I guess, because I feel like his play style, and maybe I'm wrong, like I don't watch the players as closely as you do, but like I feel like maybe not quite, but I was like, I would put him more akin to Jameson Williams, definitely over, compared to like Olave, but like that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like I feel like
Addison, he's definitely more of a JMO.
Yeah, like I feel like he makes his. I can't even think of what the metaphor is there, but like he definitely like his value comes from like those really long touchdowns and stuff, and like yeah, maybe he is just good at it, like. Mm-hmm. But those guys are ranked basically as mid to high wide receiver 3s, whereas he's kind of a low end wide receiver 2. What do you think about tiering down to either one of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would if I'm getting, good compensation. Like when we say tier down, we're not just doing a 1-for-1. We mean, and this is not for you, this is for the listeners. We mean we're getting something on top of, JMO, trading Addison, getting JMO plus something. So yeah, I would think about it because I think they're similar-ish. I think I'd take Addison over Jameson Williams. Just in a vacuum. Olave is an interesting one because I think, again, you could probably make the argument that, who have over the next 3 years, like who has a better chance at making it into like that top 12 in terms of fantasy finish type of players. I think it's Olave, but I'm not super confident in that, So I'm more, I believe much more in Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings to kind of just make it work no matter what with whatever quarterback's there, assuming they're average at best or at worst. So there's value in that too, like just the situation, even though he is on a little bit more of a crowded receiving room. So yeah, I would down tier to those guys for sure. In a vacuum, I'd probably, I don't know, it's like Olave and Addison kind of neck and neck. And then I think JMO's he's third for me pretty easily in that group.
Would you trade Jordan Addison for Waddle straight up? I would take Waddle.
Yeah, I don't know. Like when it comes to those kinds of trades, like I kind of just want to keep who I have.
Yeah, I
In a
get
weird
it.
way, because I feel like it's a little bit too lateral. I do think Waddle has more upside, but yeah, I'd probably lean Waddle. I'd probably want Waddle like in a vacuum there, but I don't know. I'd want to use it as I'm getting something else type of thing. But yeah, if I had to, like I'd probably lean Waddle and just assume like maybe he's the wide receiver one for the Dolphins this year. As soon as this year, I think he has more potential there. So I probably would take Waddle for there, but I also wouldn't be shocked like if Addison's just better. Like that's not. There's a very good chance that
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, I get what you're saying. They're too close to make it kind of interesting, but I guess
Mhm.
a way to kind of think about it, and we can like move on after this. But like if these guys are part of a bigger package, like like usually like you'll kind of look at them like where it's like, okay, this running back, is this really an upgrade over that guy, that kind of thing. So I was just wondering like how you would think about them like in comparison to each other, but I get it, too close to really have like a strong opinion either way.
Yeah, no. The more I think about it, I would lean Waddle just because I usually shoot for upside, and I think Waddle has that because again, he could be. What if Tyreek Hill is just old and not good anymore? Like, so Waddle could be the wide receiver one for the Dolphins. We've seen Waddle have, a big year, 1,350 and maybe a little bit more than that yards and decent touchdowns. He'll never, it doesn't seem like he'll be a big catch guy, although he did catch over 100 his rookie year. And then also you got to factor in like, Justin Jefferson's going to be there. So that's going to, the only way for, you need like a Burrow like quarterback to give you a T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and both of them can finish top 12. I think they both did one year, a few years back or something. Like you need that kind of production, and you're definitely not getting that from McCarthy year one. So like that's like a guarantee. Like you're not getting that year one from McCarthy. So
How dare you?
so the soonest you're going to get it is like 2026. So yeah, I'd lean Waddle for sure. If I'm comparing it in a package, and I think I
Okay,
would
I'm
say
just kind of
Waddle's a
looking at
slight win.
I'm just kind of looking at the guys that are below him, and like they
Mhm.
probably are too close to like really like get anything of significance. But maybe not, like hit up that Minnesota fan in your league.
Well, it's like you said, if it's in a package, and I'm like, okay, this player and these players, I'll compare these two. I compare Addison and Waddle. I think I'd say slight win to Waddle. But
Sure.
um, again, that's nothing against Addison, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if Addison's just better than him even this year. So,
Keep Trade Cut says you have to throw in A.T. Perry or A.J. Dillon to make it even. So
please
that
take
obviously
AJ
means
Dillon.
nothing.
It should be the person has to take on AJ Dillon as like
Yeah, you have to
punishment or
actually
whatever.
roster him and start him once.
I've always been an AJ Dillon hater, but he seems like a nice guy. He plays a farm simulator or something, so or
Is that
tractor
still a
simulator
thing?
or something.
Oh,
I think
I was
I
like,
think he's
wasn't
like
that like on like fucking MySpace or something? Like,
I just remember like a meme going around of like him playing like he was in like a tractor or something, like playing a video game and just like farming his crops, and someone just being like, "I need you to score points for me, and you're playing this or something." It was just kind of funny. But
yeah, how did that
anyways,
work out?
yeah, didn't. Um,
Is
Judy is the next one here. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, is that like the low rent version of Kyler playing a bunch of Call of Duty or
Yeah, right.
whatever?
I
Like,
guess, yeah. Which is kind of stupid. It's like these guys can have a life outside of football. Like Jesus.
no video games. They're only allowed to play
Yeah,
Madden if they play video games.
I know, right? Um, Jeudy, who's surprisingly still kind of young, feels like, not even 26 yet. He will be to start the year, but had his breakout year. And by breakout, overall he finished wide receiver 29, but you really got to look at kind of like that second half for Jeudy whenever Jameis Winston came on and Amari Cooper was no longer there. He's an interesting one because he's down at wide receiver 39, and I get it. I understand why. I kind of feel like he's a little bit of a buy low here. It's not like this was his he came out of nowhere. This is not like Rico Dowdle where it's like, oh, this guy came out of nowhere, like didn't even know his name or what college he goes to. And, but, this guy's a first round pick. He had a decent rookie year, not a great one, but a decent one. Had a decent 2022 season. And then he kind of broke out this year. 90 catches, over 1,200 yards, only 4 touchdowns. Wide receiver 29, like I said, in points per game, but obviously better in that second half. So I kind of feel like he's a little bit of a buy low. He's still young. I kind of look at him like McLaurin, what we were talking about with McLaurin last year, saying there's a very good chance. Well, with Washington, it was almost a lock. They were taking it was a lock. They were taking a quarterback and saying, like, what if that quarterback's good? McLaurin's going to benefit from it. He's going to be the one that, and it exactly played out that way. Same thing with the Browns here. It's not a lock they're going to take a quarterback, and definitely these quarterbacks aren't as good as, Jaden Daniels as prospects. But what if they do get Cam Ward, and what if he's just good? Like, it's going to be Jeudy that's going to be the guy. I don't see them taking a receiver at 2 unless it's Travis Hunter, and then that's just a whole another situation. Is he a receiver or a cornerback? And then by the time they pick again in the second round, I don't think this is a deep wide receiver class. I think the top 4 guys are probably off the board. Maybe one of them falls there, but probably off the board. And then, I just think there's a very good chance that Judy's once again the number 1 target for the Browns, and he's going to have – you're kind of buying him at his floor. So, in my opinion, if he's the number 1 target. So, I think he's a buy low right now. I think I'd be happy getting Jeudy and saying, all right, at worst, wide receiver 3, and do what you did again last year. Give me, a stretch of 10 games or whatever it was where you kind of were dominating. So feeling the same about Jeudy, or still hesitant, you want to see it again type of thing?
No, I think he's a perfect buy low candidate. Like I took him in a few startups last year because his value was so depressed, and it hasn't. I'm sure it moved quite a bit. I guess I can look at that while I'm talking, but
I'll pull it up if you want.
Yeah, like
he was down to sorry, real quick. He was down like during the offseason, like wide receiver 50-ish, and did get into like the 60s. So
okay. So what the hell is this? I'm looking at this correctly. Seems like his value went up quite a bit. Oh, that's November. Okay. I was just looking at a bunch of anyways. Yeah, I mean, I always like to put him in the calculator to see he is basically worth exactly the 202 according to Keep Trade Cut. And it's funny because I was going to ask you, would you trade the 201 for Jerry Jeudy?
Nah, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, and so that was going to be the next question. It's like, what's the highest pick, the earliest pick that you would trade for him? You're going to go back to the 206 or something like that?
Yeah, because again, I really like the early second round picks in this draft, assuming you play super flex.
Fucking Jeudy, man.
I don't know. Like I see like Matthew Golden fall there, which I'm high on. I probably 202 is a little bit too high for me, just because like I don't think you're gonna get a top 12 wide. Like I think this is more of if he's a low end wide receiver 2, I'm happy. Like I don't see major upside. He did have that huge game as well against the Broncos. It was against the Broncos, right? In last year, which does inflate his totals there. I mean, that was was it only 36 points? I thought it was a lot more than that, but it seemed like a lot more than that. Anyways, I know he went over like 200 yards or something. So.
Yeah, it was 235.
Yeah.
Denver.
So no, I wouldn't go that far. Yeah. If you told me like, 26 second for him, and I feel like I'm going to be competing and contending, I'd do it. Mid to late second in this draft. I'd think about doing it. It's more of I want to get him in a package type of thing and kind of get him in like, all right, I'll give you this guy who's slightly better, but then you give me this guy, Jerry Jeudy for this guy that I'm trading, who I think Jerry Jeudy significantly better than, it's that type of deal. But I don't know. I just think there's a very good chance Like, it's not a great free agency, although for wide receivers, it is getting better with all these guys being cut and wanting to get traded and stuff. But and it's not a deep wide receiver draft class. So I think there's a pretty better than 50% chance that Jeudy's just like the number one target for the Browns next year. And what does that mean? I don't know. Is it a rookie? Is it a veteran on the team? It's definitely going to be someone.
Is it DTR? Is it Kirk Cousins?
Could be Kirk Cousins. I don't know if you want him playing outside in Cleveland in November, December, and January, but I don't know who the hell it's going to be. But I don't know. I think it's going to be someone. Yeah, maybe it might be. It might be, but yeah, I think he's like a solid buy low target for sure. And I mean, would you trade that early second for him, or?
I think I would. I think I'm comfortable with that. I don't know. I definitely, obviously, I mean, this goes without saying. It's like I'd much rather trade a late second plus the third or something like that if that was enough to get it done, which it might be. Like someone might be looking at Jeudy as like, oh, I can finally get something worthwhile. And like you said, rookie fever setting in. So, but I think I'd be okay with it. Given those reasons, like it might not be pretty, but like we've seen flashes of the talent. So he doesn't have to worry about Deshaun Watson screwing up his year next year, most likely. So,
yeah, I guess when I'm always thinking about, like, whenever you ask these, like, oh, the 202 for him, and it's never about like, I don't think there's a chance Jerry Jeudy outproduces the player at the 202. It's more of like, it's very easy for whatever player you get at the 202 to just like shoot up in value.
Sure.
Right. And we're seeing Jerry Jeudy, who, like, he was kind of a monster. Let's see, from like week 9 onwards, what he was. He was the wide receiver 6 from week 9 onwards. I don't even know if that's when he started to go off, but that's wide receiver 6, like. And he's still, like, you see the hesitant, like we're very hesitant. It's very hard to go from wide receiver 50 to wide receiver 15. Like, it's almost impossible. So,
yeah,
I
at
this age, 5 years in or whatever.
Yeah. I think if he has the exact same year that he just had, 90 catches, 1,200 yards, 4 touchdowns, I think he'll move up, but not crazy, like you said,
No.
like he doesn't have the chance, like the opportunity. He would have to have a crazy year to move up that high, but I just don't really see that in his future. But I don't really care. Like if that's his stat line, I don't really care where he's ranked, like I'm happily starting him, kind of a thing.
Yeah, no, I get that. But there is that other side of like the perceived value of things and
Playing the stock market.
Yeah. And so I just know whatever player you get at the 201, 202, like, it doesn't take much for them. Shit, like, it doesn't even have to be production on the field, like with those guys. It's just like, oh, this guy, some news came out that he's lighting it up at training camp. Boom, he jumps up 7 spots. It's like so easy, just because we're all looking for that next breakout guy. So,
if they both have the exact same year they just had, and I'm not saying like you can make this, but it's like people should think about this. What's the case besides he's younger of Jordan Addison over Jerry Jeudy?
So you're saying they both, like, Addison had what he just had, and
if they both had the exact same year, it's like, I don't know. It's something to like kind of like think about.
Addison was better.
Like, what's that?
Addison was still better than Jeudy just because of the touchdowns.
I see him as wide receiver 15.
I meant points per game is what I was.
Oh, yeah.
Just because Judy's one of those where, like, he's wide receiver 15 in total points, but 29 in points per game. Like, he's one of those guys. Whereas Addison missed, 2-3 games. And so, I mean, it's a half a point per game. It's 0.6, so it's not huge. So, I get what you're getting at though. Like, I don't know. I'd probably still lean a player like Addison just because of like the perceived value of him is going to be better. So, and like the production's not that far off. Like assuming it even is, right? Like assuming Addison's behind or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
But
total points, they probably finished like not that far off, like you said.
yeah, it was
Because
15 to 21, and then it was or 15 to 20, and it was
it's
14
basically
points.
300 yards difference, but Addison
Yeah.
had 6 more touchdowns, so that basically cancels each other out.
Yeah, it was 14.
Plus catches
14
and
points.
stuff. 2 less games. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what point I'm trying to make. Fuck Jordan.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I get what you're saying. It's kind of like the Kyron Brees debate of like, what's the reason to have the like? At some point, we can't just say age is the only reason you're ahead of someone. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like we need to see something, and that's kind of what I think you were getting at there. Like, especially when you're talking about guys that aren't over the hill. Like Jeudy's only 25. You know, like he's not that old. He'll be 26, like I said. But, yeah, interesting thoughts there on the topic. But let us know in the comments what you think. Once again, make sure to subscribe, join the Discord, all that fun stuff. And we'll be back. We'll be doing a lot of these throughout the entire off season. So appreciate everyone, and we will see you all in the next video.